In the middle of the night, a strange object falls from the sky and crashes in the desert. The impact is seen by a hunter and his dog, who won't stop barking. The dog runs toward the mysterious object to investigate but immediately comes back. The hunter hears a roar and gets ready to shoot while the dog runs away in fear. The next day, Renee says goodbye to her dead pet lizard and cremates it on the grill. Then she reminds her mother Linda that she needs to drive her to the store because she has to buy food for her pet snake. Linda admits she's not a fan of Renee having creepy animals as pets. When Linda's boyfriend Chase joins them for breakfast, Renee tries to ignore him, causing Chase to scold her for not even saying good morning. On her way out, Renee furiously scratches Chase's van in revenge. At school, Renee is a loner and other kids make fun of her. During lunch, Renee sits at the same table as Gil, who is also an outcast. Gil tries to make some conversation but Renee only wants to eat. After class, Linda is late picking Renee up. When Linda tries to ask her daughter's day, Renee immediately changes the subject to Linda's lateness and learns that her mother didn't go to work today. Renee wants her mother to call the doctor and get a better prescription, but Linda assures her that she just had a bad morning. This makes Renee realize that Linda and Chase had a fight and tells her that they should break up, pointing out that Chase doesn't even help and only spends his days drinking. Linda explains that Chase needs her and being needed is a nice feeling. At home, Renee feeds her collection of creepy pets and even sings to them while playing the banjo. She realizes that her snake is her best friend, which is depressing. During dinner, Chase mentions the scratches on his van and indirectly blames Renee, but Linda forces him to change the topic. Then Chase complains about the bad smell of their microwave, so Renee explains she heated a dead rat for her snake. Chase freaks out about how unsanitary that is and Renee gets sassy, so Chase throws chips at her face. A distressed Renee bursts out of the house and hears Linda and Chase arguing inside. Tired of the situation, Renee gets on her ATV and drives to the middle of the desert to cry alone. At that moment, she finds the hunter's overturned truck and a crater nearby. When she turns around, she sees a terrifying monster roaring, so she runs to take cover. The creature tries to follow her, but it's chained to the truck. It starts dashing all over the place trying to break the chain to no avail. Eventually it gives up and lies down defeated. Renee uses the chance to run back to the ATV and freezes when she notices that the creature is in pain because it got caught in the hunter's trap. After some hesitation, she goes to the truck and removes the chain. The creature screeches and Renee rushes to the ATV to drive away in panic. At home, Renee sees Linda comforting Chase. She's so annoyed that she decides to stay outside for a while. In the morning, Renee sees a bunch of helicopters flying in the area. Getting worried about the creature, she spends her morning making a list of the items she'll need to help. She asks Gil to lend her his mother's video camera and repays him by sharing her English homework. When Renee gets home, Linda and Chase are waiting for her to have a talk. Chase gives Renee his 24-hour sober coin and hopes that he can keep up tomorrow. Renee points out that he drank last night, thus he didn't really do 24 hours, and Chase explains he's trying his best, so Renee should try too for the sake of her mother. After Chase leaves, Linda says that he's serious about wanting to get better, but Renee drops the coin and points out that he didn't even apologize. Later, Renee gathers all her items and puts a sign on her door saying she'll be busy with homework and mustn't be disturbed, that way they won't notice she's missing. Then she sneaks into the couple's bedroom and steals Chase's keys. When she opens his truck, she finds lots of small vodka bottles and a gun, which is the last item she needs. Afterward, Renee drives to the same spot in the desert. At first she doesn't see the creature, but using her binoculars allows her to find it in the crater. She then shoots the gun in the air as a test, but the beast doesn't even flinch. Next, Renee sets up the camera and slowly approaches the creature to cut off the trap. Once again it doesn't move, so Renee walks away thinking it's dead. Suddenly the creature tackles Renee to the ground and drools all over her head. After sniffing her, it steps away and Renee finally can look at it properly to confirm it's an alien. She tries talking to it and offers an apple, but the beast throws it away. At that moment the helicopters fly by again and Renee tries to explain to the alien that the choppers equal danger. In the evening, Renee goes home and realizes she dropped Chase's gun in the desert. She leaves her room and finds Chase drinking on the couch, so he asks her not to tell Linda. He also asks about his keys and Renee pretends she knows nothing. When she goes outside, she's shocked to find the alien in the bushes. She tells it to go away but it won't listen, so she gets her ATV and goes to the desert so that the alien will follow her there. In the desert, Renee loses sight of the alien. Suddenly the creature appears in front of her and opens its mouth to send out golden waves that cover her face. For several seconds, Renee's body floats while her eyes glow brightly. By the time she snaps out of it, it's already morning and the alien is sleeping. Renee hugs it and decides she can't abandon it, so she takes it home and hides it in the cellar. In the desert, the helicopters and an entire investigation team are still looking for the mysterious object that fell from the sky. Back to Renee, she only pretends to go to school and calls her mother to make sure she's at work. After Chase leaves for the day, Renee takes the alien to the main house and tries to feed it, but it turns down everything she offers. The alien is given a tour of the house and Renee introduces it to her pets, although she has to stop it from eating them. She then decides to name the alien Croak. When Renee sings and plays her banjo, Croak's scales shake. Renee guesses it's scared and assures it she'll protect it. Moments later, Linda returns early from work because she couldn't handle her depression. Chase sends her a picture of his 48-hour sober token and Linda cries in the car, thinking she's not trying hard enough. In the living room, Renee is watching TV with Croak and she panics when she hears her mother open the door. She sneaks out with her new friend and Linda is annoyed to find a mess, so she takes her medicine to calm down. While Renee and Croak rush to the cellar, Gil arrives at the house asking for his camera. Linda lets him go to Renee's bedroom and he takes a look at a picture of Renee's dead father. Then he considers smelling her pillow but stops himself when he realizes it'd be creepy. After leaving some water for Croak, Renee goes back to the house and tells her angry mother that she didn't go to school because she isn't feeling well. When Renee goes to her room, she discovers that Gil has watched the video of Croak. Renee says it's some animal that she saw in the desert but it ran away, claiming it was probably a fake. She takes the camera from him and discovers that Gil has stolen the tape. They fight over it but are interrupted by Linda, who announces that the door is staying open. After Linda is gone, Gil says he wants the truth or he'll take the tape to the police. Renee takes Gil to the cellar. Croak tries to attack the boy but Renee teaches it that he's a friend. When Croak sniffs Gil, he passes out and wets his pants. Moments later, Gil wakes up and Renee has to cover his mouth to stop him from screaming. Then Renee pets Croak while singing to make its scale shake, which convinces Gil that the alien is friendly. Afterward, Gil gives the tape back to Renee and agrees to keep the secret. Neither of them sees Agent Brown nearby spying on their conversation and taking pictures. In the evening, Renee hears noises in the cellar, so she goes down there and sings for Croak while playing the banjo. She explains that the instrument used to belong to her late dad and shares anecdotes from her childhood. Renee also tries to feed Croak but it doesn't like anything. The next day during lunch, Gil shares a theory inspired by Jurassic Park. He thinks that Croak doesn't want to be fed like a pet, it wants to hunt. In the evening, the teens take Croak to Hellhole Canyon and it finally gets to eat by attacking a bunch of pigs that Gil brought. After it's done eating, it brings a piece of pig for Renee. Renee tries to hug Gil to thank him but Croak roars and doesn't let them touch. After leaving Croak in the cellar, Renee tries to go to her room, only for a drunk Chase to grab her by the hair and throw her on the couch before asking about his gun. Renee tries to lie but Chase is onto her, so she has no choice but to admit she lost it. Chase then complains that Renee doesn't respect him because she doesn't fear him. He tells her a story of how his father mistreated him as a kid but he saw it as a way to teach respect. A terrified Renee tries to run away and Chase quickly captures her, so she bites his arm to free herself. Chase responds by throwing her against the wall and crawling on her to start choking her. Linda hears the screaming and runs to pull Chase away while Croak also hears it all and starts pounding on the cellar wall. The house begins to shake and after several minutes Croak finally gives up. Linda thinks it was just an earthquake and insults Chase as she kicks him out, finally breaking up with him. When he hesitates to move, she throws a beer bottle at the wall, forcing him to finally leave. Then Linda tries to check on Renee, but she's too angry that her mother let it reach this point and pretends to run to her room. Renee actually goes to the cellar and reminds Croak to behave. She ends up falling asleep there. The next morning, Renee is approached by Agent Jonathan, who convinces her to get in the car with him after showing his badge and mentioning he found the gun. It's registered under Chase's name but the last fingerprints are Renee's. When she claims that she went to the desert to shoot cans, Jonathan says he'll be nice for now and hands her his business card. If she doesn't call him with the information he wants, he'll come back with a warrant and handcuffs. Meanwhile, Linda discovers that the water isn't working and calls a plumber. Since he's a friend, Linda goes to work while the man checks the issue. He goes down the cellar and finds Croak, so he hits it with his tools in panic. This causes Croak to bite him. The terrified plumber gets back in his van and drives away as fast as possible, but the pain and fear are keeping him distracted, so he ends up crashing into another vehicle. When Renee goes home after school, Linda tries to have a serious conversation with her. However, Renee starts yelling at her and blames her for everything. This makes Linda break down, so she tells Renee about the water before going to her room. Renee realizes what broke the pipes and runs to the cellar to find human blood on the floor. She checks on Croak and notices the alien is bleeding too. Renee tells it not to hurt people and finally accepts that she can't keep Croak in the house anymore. In the meantime, Gil is visited by Brown. In the evening, Renee drives her ATV to the desert and makes Croak follow her. It starts running so fast that it passes the vehicle. They meet with Gil and Renee explains she's thinking of putting Croak in Chase's van to take it to a reserve where it won't be found. This would require her to stay with it until she's sure it's safe. Gil then reveals that Brown visited him and threatened to deport his immigrant relatives if he didn't share information, but he didn't say anything. Afterward, Renee hides Croak in a big box in the desert and goes home to start packing for the trip. She leaves a letter for Linda and frees all her pets. When she gets in the van, a drunk and armed Chase shows up and pulls her out. Then Chase forces Renee and Linda to sit in the living room with him so he can complain about not being loved. He gets angry and throws the table. Meanwhile, in the desert, a group of agents finds the box, but when they look inside, they find it empty. Croak is currently running back to the house. Chase is beating up Linda, who desperately tells her daughter to leave. Renee tries to run away, so Chase follows her and smashes her face on the van. Then he points his gun at her, saying it's her fault that Linda doesn't love him. Suddenly Croak tackles Chase against the van and kills him. When Renee tries to stop the alien, Croak roars at her and runs away. At that moment Gil arrives and throws up when he sees Chase's body. He thinks Croak is beyond helping now and reveals he's talked to the agents. Suddenly Jonathan comes out of the house and shoots the tires of the ATV. Soon the whole team surrounds the house and sets up all their equipment. Renee is tied to a chair and a net is put on her hair to connect her to a computer that confirms her bond with the alien is the strongest the agents have ever seen. Jonathan breaks Renee's finger to make her scream. Croak hears her and immediately runs back to the house, only to walk right into a trap that continuously shocks it until it passes out. Renee yells as she begs for mercy but Jonathan puts her to sleep. Sometime later Croak is being taken to a government facility on a special platform that keeps it docile. Renee is being kept on a chair in an empty room and when Jonathan wakes her up, she spits on his face. She explains that Croak is her friend, but Jonathan insists it's dangerous. He explains that Renee isn't the first person to find an alien, she's just the first one to do so and survive. The government believes that Croak is a beast built by a life far more intelligent than humans and was sent to Earth to do reconnaissance, which means they could be invaded in the future. Since Renee bonded with Croak, Jonathan wants her to let scientists study her so they can learn the best way to kill the aliens. If Renee doesn't agree, he'll put Linda in a mental institution and extract the information from Renee by force, which would cripple her. Linda is allowed to visit Renee and she reveals she's read the letter, so she apologizes to her daughter for everything. After Linda leaves, Renee decides to get Croak's attention by repeating what Jonathan did to her hand. Hearing her scream, Jonathan rushes into the room and covers her mouth, so Renee bites him. Croak roars as it frees itself from the platform and starts killing all the guards that try to stop it. The alarms echo in the whole building as the lights start to flicker. Croak escapes from the lab and runs through the corridors, bringing down any person who tries to stop it. Linda worries about her daughter but finds the door locked, so she'll have to escape through the vents. In the corridor, she's horrified to find all the bodies. Jonathan and Brown get their weapons ready and point them at the door. However, Croak bursts into the room by breaking the wood and sends both men flying, which knocks them out. Croak then gets ready to kill them, but Renee convinces it not to do it. After petting Croak to calm it down, she takes Jonathan's keys to free herself and the duo escapes. Outside, Renee and Croak try to get in a car. Jonathan also comes out and opens fire, but luckily Gil has been waiting nearby and warns them just in time. Renee and Croak hide behind a car and Jonathan keeps shooting at the vehicle, not caring about possibly hitting the girl. Desperate to protect Renee, Croak comes out of hiding and Jonathan shoots it multiple times. Croak still manages to tackle him and kill him. Renee runs to her friend's side and breaks down when she confirms that Croak is dead too. Linda and Gil do their best to comfort her. Sometime later, Linda, Renee, and Gil have a picnic together. In a government lab, they try to study Croak's body when it suddenly wakes up. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.